Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today we're taking a look at r/entitled people. It's kind of the culmination of all of the entitled subreddits together. Lots of fun and lots of frustrations ahead. Hope you all enjoy. Think Comfort 49.3. Sister-in-law thinks she's entitled to late brother's property. So to start off, this isn't my story, but one of my best friends, Alyssa, but I was there when it happened. It's something that happened years ago, but we're reminiscing about the past, and then after seeing a couple posts similar to the situation, got talking about it. I've been given permission to talk or post about this. My best friend, who we'll call James, met the love of his life, Alyssa, when they were teenagers. Unfortunately, they ended up breaking up over a misunderstanding. A few years later, they ended up meeting up again through a mutual friend of ours, Alan, who was her cousin at his birthday party. After reconnecting, they fell back in love and got back together. When they wanted to get married, not even a year after dating, his family, mainly parents, thought they were moving too fast, along with the fact that they thought that she was only after his money, which wasn't true because she had her own money as she was doing very well in her career, just as he was. And when his family realized that, they apologized and warmed up to her. Unfortunately, roughly 4 years after they were married, he died in a car accident. The house, which he bought not even a month before they got back together, was in his will to go to her and the daughter they shared together. Roughly 6 months after his funeral, his sister, who we'll call Josie, showed up at the house. Alyssa has allowed and still does allow James' family to see their daughter, along with letting them have her for occasional holidays or almost any time they want or the daughter wants to go over. When Josie said that she, her husband, and 2 children needed a place, Alyssa was quick to offer them a place to stay until they get back on their feet. The house is a 3-bedroom with a finished walkout basement. Here's where it gets amusing in our eyes. Josie started going off on her, saying how Alyssa needs to move out and find somewhere else to live. That it was only right for Josie and her family to be the ones that has her brother's house. She even said that she and Alyssa only had it because of him, and now that he's gone, there's no reason for her to still be living there. Josie even went as far as saying that James would be rolling in his grave knowing there's lesbian lovers living in his house. I wasn't living there, but was there quite a bit to help out. That it was wrong because she, Alyssa, was cheating on James even before he died with me. And Josie didn't know why he even stuck with her, which surprised us both to hear her say because she always appeared that she liked us both. After they argued more, Alyssa tried multiple times to get her to leave, but of course, Josie said she wasn't going to until the house was given to her like it should have been all along. Alyssa eventually called Josie's parents and had asked them to come remove their daughter from the house, and if they couldn't, she'd be forced to get the authorities involved. Thankfully they did, but unfortunately, over the next month, Josie showed up and tried multiple times arguing with Alyssa more over who should be living in the house until her parents threatened to take her out of the will. Now, while I do have my own opinions of this story, this does seem a pretty common thing that happens where a sibling or family member seems to feel they're entitled to one of their family members' will despite it stating explicitly something else. So if the story is as accurate as OP is suggesting, I would hate to imagine this, but it's probably the case. It sounds as though the moment that James died, Josie began thinking to herself that she is more entitled to his home than his widowed wife and daughter. Yes, she has a family of her own, and Alyssa even offered to let them stay there until they get back on their feet. But in the end, it sounds like Alyssa had been living there for 4 years with their daughter, and because of the death of James, they should just up and move to allow her sister-in-law to occupy the property, I suppose. I know people like this exist, but goddamn, it is hard for me to wrap my head around it sometimes. Snoo Bunnies 7461, entitled drone owner. There's a guy who bought a drone a few years ago. High-end drone, which he learned how to fly. Not a problem until he started to fly it all over his neighbors' houses and lowering it to look in their windows. People call the mayor, the police, etc., and are told he isn't doing anything illegal. Lather, rinse, repeat. People talk directly to him, and he insists he isn't doing this. Yesterday, he did it again, spying on a mom and her very young child in their backyard. The mother posted on Facebook calling it creepy because it's creepy. This time, someone tagged the wife's name in the post and asked her to tell her husband to stop it with the drone already. She responded, stating it wasn't him because he hadn't flown the drone in weeks. OP attached a video that clearly showed the drone landing in the creeper's yard. And at this point, the correct thing would have been to apologize and maybe speak with her creeper husband, but since this is an entitled group, that isn't what happened. Instead, she corrected herself to state that he flew the drone in their yard only to do something with the battery. Someone else pointed out that the video clearly showed the drone crossing the street before landing, so that was a lie. Creeper's wife says he doesn't like to have to drive to a park to fly the drone. Someone else jumps in and reminds her that it's not about the drone, it's about him using it to look into people's windows and spy on them in their yards. Creeper's wife again states it's a hard hobby to have, and this is where it gets good. Everyone realizes that this couple owns a business in town and, in vague terms, state that they'll be traveling out of town to get item from now on instead of using the company right in town. Guess when you own a business that depends on people coming in for your produce, you might want to rethink being a creeper with a drone. Ugh. Irresponsible drone owners are honestly some of the worst because, they do shit like this, and worst part is you can't technically swap the drone down because when you do, you start entering felony territories because you're interfering with an unmanned aircraft. So shit gets complicated and gross. It depends on local laws and it depends on what local legislation has put forward. Honestly, if you're in a situation like this, contact law enforcement, contact senators, contact local legislators, do anything you can to try to shut it down, and don't be afraid to lambast them on Facebook for being a creeper who spies on children with their drone, especially if you know the pilot. And in my opinion, what the community has done in this specific circumstance of punishing the business that he owns and operates because of his actions is actually one of the best things you can do. Summer Joe Potato. Old drunk neighbor walking into our house uninvited. My fiance and I bought an old house in a nice neighborhood about a year and a half ago. So far, our neighbors are fine. Our direct neighbors are actually our best friends. The guy behind us, though, his name is Bob. Bob used to own our best friend's house, and because our house was abandoned for a while, he'd take care of the lawn. Once our friends bought his house and he moved to the house behind ours, he put in a gate so he could cut through their backyard to get to the other side of the block. Obviously, that's not cool, but whatever. They've asked him to stop repeatedly. When my fiance did a walkthrough of the house before we moved in, Bob walked into the house where my fiance was literally walking through and started telling him what he should do with the inside of the house. He was insisting on doing this or that. It was very annoying. He really feels like he knows best. When we bought the house, we had plumbers over. It needed a lot of work. Who decided to just walk right into our house, uninvited, didn't knock or anything? Bob. Walked in like he owned the place. The plumbers were very confused. Again, he started offering unsolicited advice and directions to the plumbers. We needed to get work done in the garage, and so it was around 5 p.m. and the contractor was finishing up. And Bob comes walking over and walks right into the garage and starts asking the contractor questions as if he lives here. Then he comes up to the side door, knocks like crazy, and when we answer goes, "What the fuck is up?" And we're like, "Contractors are working, Bob, what do you need?" And he complains that he can't take a damn nap because of all the noise. Why is that funny to us? Because he blasts his music in his backyard every day, regardless of the weather, very, very loud. You can hear it from inside your house. No one says anything though, because sadly, it's a very good playlist. The music is great, unfortunately. We're always bopping out. We're always bopping out to it, and we feel angry that we love it so much. Jesus. Anyway, he'll refuse to look at me or acknowledge my existence. He always only greets my fiance, and if I talk, he will look at my fiance and not respond to what I say. It's very frustrating and insulting. Well, that's our neighbor Bob. He's also a gardener and a racist and a drunk who passes out in his lawn. It's like a cartoon. Honestly, these people have far more tolerance than I do because I'd be telling him to stop at least. Like, Bob, you can't be doing this. Can't be telling the contractors what to do, Bob. You didn't hire them. They do something wrong, Bob. Who's gonna pay for it? Not them. And you're probably not gonna pay for the mistakes that you caused, so it's probably gonna be on me because you keep talking to the contractors and acting like you own the place. I'm still lost 2024. My sister-in-law begged her mom for $10,000 for an emergency surgery and went and got a breast augmentation instead. My mother-in-law is not a wealthy woman. She had a plan with her insurance where she could have a $10,000 loan at the drop of a hat for medical purposes. Now, I'm not sure the details beyond that, interest rate or payback plan details. My sister-in-law was in a toxic relationship where her and her boyfriend would be drunk 12 to 20 hours a day. They got into a few domestic fights, one where she had an open wound on her lower back, superficial 2 to 3 centimeter laceration which looked to be caused by glass or a small sharp object. Another fight that caused him to have a broken nose and a black eye. We attempted to intervene between the two, but they'd never give a full story. We'd be there during police reports to try to pull more information out, but the stories would be, he tripped down the stairs or I stood up into a piece of glass. We spoke individually with them about getting TROs, but neither pursued one until their relationship finally ended. They did finally leave each other after she cheated on him for the second time. 2 months after their relationship ended, my sister-in-law went to her mom and told her that she needed an emergency chest surgery because of an injury sustained during her relationship with her ex. She wanted her mom to pay for it with the medical loan, and she'd pay her back over time. Her mom called me. I work in the healthcare field, and so family call me for almost anything medical related, to ask about what type of surgery she'd possibly need. I looked up the surgeon and saw that he was a local plastic surgeon who did mostly breast augmentations and lifts. I told my mother-in-law to find the name of the surgeon, but my sister-in-law refused to name it. I told my mother-in-law to not give her the money without knowing what it was for. She gave her the $10,000. My sister-in-law got a breast augmentation. She literally got fired her first day back to work because she talked back to her boss. She hadn't informed him that she was getting a medical procedure done, and when the boss asked her to hand out food trays at an event, she said to him, "I can't do that. Can't you see? I just got a boob job." She later moved out of state and got another job. She has not paid my mother-in-law a single penny. My mother-in-law took money out against the house to pay for it. It's been 6 years since the surgery. Fortunately, my mother-in-law has stopped communicating with her daughter and therefore has stopped enabling her as well. I honestly don't know what to say about this one because this one's just depressing and gross. It's sad. I'm gonna leave this one to the audience because I just feel really bad. And there's not much that I can really say because apparently this was like 6 years ago. Mimi, sad boy. Trash collector wants to use my yard to store their goodies. So, with summer around the corner, my husband and I have been cleaning up our yard and setting things out on the side of the road. Next week is our town's big trash week, so everyone in our neighborhood has been setting stuff out. It isn't just our house that has unwanted clutter on the side of the road. Now, while my husband and I were outside, a person from around our place, but not our neighborhood, was walking their dog around the block. We kinda live in the woods, so our little neighborhood attracts a lot of people from around our place that can't take a walk anywhere else. Lack of safe spaces to walk that isn't directly in the forest. As she sees my husband and I, she starts a conversation with us about the renovations we recently did on our front yard. All is going well when she notices a small iron and wood bench we had set out for the city to pick up. She asks us if we're giving it away, and I say yes, and that we were also going to put out a larger one that she could take if she wanted. Giddily, she grabs the small bench and puts it back in our driveway. She says she'll be back soon to come pick it up with her friend in the next 2 days. Truth be told, I'm already a little irked, cause trash from the side of the road is usually a first come first served type of situation. I put it there because I don't want it in my yard. My husband and I figure it'll be fine anyways, the pickup isn't until next week. Well, this lady comes back with her friend the same evening to pick up the smaller bench, and has my husband help her bring out our other bench into our driveway. Uh-oh, it doesn't fit into her car, so she leaves it once again in our driveway. I'm inside while this is happening, so I don't really know what's going on. Next thing my husband knows, she goes to our front door neighbors and grabs 5 outdoor dining chairs and puts them in our yard. And she says she'll be back next week to pick them up. And she goes. My husband is very conflict averse, so he didn't say anything and just went back to mowing the lawn. When I noticed, I got upset. I'm 37 weeks pregnant and very into nesting and getting stuff done. I worked all week to clean my yard, and this lady feels like she can just use our yard without asking to hoard her trash treasure. Nah. I grabbed all the trash, including our bench, and put everything back by the road. And I put our neighbor's trash back where it was. I was just so shocked by how comfortable she was to start storing stuff in our driveways without even asking. We aren't even neighbors. Part of me just hopes that someone else comes and picks everything up. Honestly, it's super cool that your town does this kind of big trash week thing. That's a pretty cool thing to have. It does sound messy and kind of icky to have the road full of garbage, but at the same time, sounds like there are some, just societal norms put in place. And yeah, I wouldn't be very happy if I was putting things out on the road to be thrown away, and then someone who I don't even know, I've never met, they're not my neighbors, comes and starts dragging shit back on my lawn and my driveway. Like, I gotta use my driveway. What are you doing? This is definitely not one of the worst ones that we've had so far, but this does speak to an internal monologue that this person probably has that gives them the ability just to be like, It'll be fine if I just store the shit that I want they're trying to throw away back on their property. They won't mind that at all. No Chrysler for me. My entitled brother threw a massive fit just because he was mad I bought a house. Yeah, I'm aware of similar stories involving entitled family members wanting houses they have no claim to, but I guess this shit really happens, and it's no picnic when it does. I suddenly became a homeowner some time ago because a friend of mine's grandfather was moving to Florida, and his house was ripe for picking. I knew the old man well, rest in peace. He passed a few months later from a sudden stroke. Anyway, he offered the house and property to me for $200K. I practically ran to the bank to apply for the loan. The house is a manufactured home from the 80s, but it was remodeled repeatedly by the former owner and has a separate garage building. The home and property could have gone for more, but he offered the house to me because he knew I'd take care of it. I had $30K saved that made a good down payment, and I was happy to leave my apartment. I'd wanted to eventually move out of there for what my cheating ex did anyways, but that's a story for another time. As for my brother, well, he went bonkers when he found out that I bought a house. He had his repeat history of copycatting me for the past decade, but there was no way in hell he could copycat buying a house with his terrible credit and inconsistent income. And he got in an argument with me over how I was just trying to make him look bad by doing something he couldn't. No, I just wanted a damn house, and the price was too good to refuse. Then he told me I should have turned it down because he had no good reason. I could practically see his screws getting looser with every dumbass excuse he made as to why I shouldn't have done it. But I pointed out all of those excuses were just because I did something he currently can't, and when I bought the house, it had nothing to do with him. I just wanted to be a homeowner for the security and extra space. I finally don't have to store my camper at my parents' house, and I have a garage that I can store my stuff and tinker in. As an example, I bought a camping cot, he bought a camping cot, went to the gym, he went to the gym, bought good booze, he bought good booze, or stole them from me. I bought a new TV, he bought a new TV. I bought a truck, he bought a truck. I bought a camper, he bought a camper. I bought a used portable DVD player, he bought a used portable DVD player. I went camping in a specific place, he went camping in that specific place. I bought a house, he... 404 error, insert tea kettle noises in Benny Hill Chase. He also acted like a complete child toward me when he built his mini-ram thing. He actually confronted me and said it was cooler than my boring Tundra, because it was something original. I swear, he did the dumbest mods to that vehicle, like putting twist studs in the suspension coils to raise the ride height. Oh. Well, after weeks of openly fuming about me being a homeowner, my brother suddenly acted like he had another brilliant idea. He wanted to move in with me. I laughed at him. Then he ended up demanding I rent one of my rooms to him, and for only $200 a month, utilities included, because he shouldn't have to pay any more than that since we're family. He flipped his lid when I said fuck no. Then he got our parents involved. Again, only this time they actually sided with him at first. Though, it was mainly our mother. She and my brother showed up demanding that I let my brother move in, and my brother had a shit-eating grin on his face that I could tell he was thinking he was getting his way thanks to Mommy Dearest. I said, fuck no, to both of their faces, and my mother cried that I was using foul language to her and being an ass when I had the space now. I called my dad, and he told my mom that he'd warned her I wouldn't do it, and to leave me the hell alone. Mom whined my brother was living out of his camper next to his shabby house he was renting space from. I said that wasn't my problem to fix, and my brother has proven countless times that he cannot be trusted. My brother was fuming to the point of being red with veins popping out. My mom tried one more time to convince me with tears, and that just made me angrier. I went on a rant that was something like this. Bro couldn't buy a house, so he wanted to invade mine. I refused to ever live with my brother again. I would sooner live in the woods without electricity than with him. He's intentionally irritating as hell, and if I had him as a roommate, I just fucking know he'd steal my booze, take my stuff, and invade my privacy non-stop. Not fucking happening. No matter how many tears Mom tried using on me. My mom broke down, finally conceded she'd never convince me after that rant, and she had to take my brother by the hand and leave with him because he initially refused to go, and kept begging her to turn back and make me let him move in. I yelled to him that it was a laugh that he called me a mama's boy before, because he'd become exactly that. And this was just like the time he tried to get our mother to make me trade vehicles with him because he felt ashamed to be driving a minivan. He yanked away from Mom and then told me to go fuck myself. and the horse that I rode on. I laughed and pointed out I didn't ride in on anything because I was already home, but his rattle-can horse was waiting for him in the driveway. He flipped his lid again and looked like his head was going to explode, but Mom got in front of him and told him to just go. Then he drove off in his rattle-can Silverado without her. He had driven her there, and then I had to take her home. While taking her home, I made things very clear with my mother over why I could never trust my brother again, and his life was not my burden to bear. And then told her how little my brother was offering for rent anyways, which he'd conveniently not told her. Then I later rented the same room to one of my best friends for $600 a month, and he pays for utilities. The other 2 rooms are my bedroom and a home office. There's an extra room in the separate garage too, so my mother tried to make me let my brother live in the garage instead. There's enough room in its storage for a bedroom, but again, I said fuck no. And that since it's been turned into another friend's rented room with a bit of plywood remodel, yeah, I kinda rented both the spare room and the garage room out to friends out of spite, but I wasn't letting my brother live with me in any capacity. My brother later ended up having a complete meltdown in front of our parents over how he's the oldest brother. He should be the one who owns a house first. He's supposed to be successful, and I'm supposed to be the big loser in his shadow. Our dad poked him with his cane and told him that's not how life works, and they had a big argument. They told him to get out and just not come back until he's cooled off and learn that he's just being a pointlessly jealous asshole. The next part I post, my brother did the dumbest thing of all. Edit, came home late to over 600 comments and still more pouring in. Far too many for me to answer, so I'm going to clear things up. Yes, I am no contact with my brother, and he's no contact with the rest of the family as well. I do have cameras inside and outside of my home and a dash cam too. My brother knows this and has stayed the fuck away since he left town. I'm told I'm an asshole too, not arguing that because it's true. I'm not exactly the nicest guy, but have someone like my brother in your life and just see how peachy you turn out. Some have mentioned to having siblings just like my brother. Sadly, I know very well people like him are increasingly common these days. My dad has said a number of times that my brother probably would have ended up dead in an alley if he lived here 50 years ago with the way that he behaves. As for our ages, I'm 30 and my brother is 32. I have not given my parents a spare key to my house. One is with a friend and another is very cleverly hidden. My house is a manufactured home, but it's not a trailer park and has been significantly modified with new siding and a new roof and has a separate garage building. The previous owner was a former general contractor and he loved to build and repair. And yes, I do have good insurance. I keep seeing comments about a clock radio. Pardon me for not getting the reference, but I do own a digital alarm clock that has a built-in CD player. Currently plays Tina Turner's Proud Mary to Wake Up. It's a Bo reference. I get a clock radio he cannot afford. Great success. That's basically what this story is. My brother and I were raised pretty evenly. He was always a jerk, but went full asshole after moving out. But our mother didn't favor him. She cheated him out plenty, and she didn't normally side with his stupidity. She just wanted him to live in a better place than in a camper next to a house filled with potheads. Addition, my brother willingly moved into that camper. He was renting half a room in that house of potheads. Then, convinced the landlord to let him live in his camper on the property for the same price instead. And he bragged about his camper a lot, which he has a full gaming center in, complete with PlayStation. He only wanted to invade my house to piss me off and make his cost of living even lower. He also doesn't like camping nearly as much as me. He mainly liked just pissing me off by following me. He loved to make me miserable. In fact, he felt entitled to make me miserable. That's the kind of person he is. Do I have a restraining order against my brother? Not really. It just didn't bother. Because even if I did, it'd only be for like a year, and my brother wouldn't let something like that stop him if he was truly determined anyway. Okay, so yeah, apparently there is a trend with family members just being entitled to homes, and what a nightmare, honestly. This one has a bit different vibes than the sister-in-law being entitled to the home, because this one's just the brother asking for an obscenely low rent price. So, bit different, but still. Bro had to get his mom. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.